5,460 centimeters.
Okay, let's see. King Henry drank base unit, Diet Cokes Monday. We're starting at the hecto, we're ending at the center. 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right. Our decimal is at the left. 1, 2, 3 around the digits, 4, so we add 1 0. Did you say 5,460 centimeters?
Yes, ma'am.
You were correct. Okay. The metric system is by far easier than the English. It's all the same prefixes. There is no relation in the prefixes. Cup, ounces, foot, inches, yards. There is absolutely no relation between any of these. These are all base 10. Absolute logic, makes perfect sense. No sense at all. This is from a king's foot. The yard was a waistline. No sense at all. There's even a Twain named after Mark Twain, a measurement that's not very common. It's just nonsense. This is all perfect sense. Okay? All right. So you can use the sliding decimal. Know how this works for your test. Common ones, make sure you know 1,000 base units is a kilo. 1,000 of these is a base unit. 100 of these is a base unit. 10 of these is a base unit. Make sure you know how to slide the decimal and use this on your exams, because this is what you're given. I can tell you somebody from one of the sync classes got a 0, not one of mine. We have 2 other ones in the region, our zone they call it now. They got a 0 on their test because they went and looked something up on the internet during their test, and we have cameras in our testing centers, and they got caught. They record it, so they got a 0, probably on probation for cheating. You can't just go look up something on the internet and say how many of this is this on the next test. You will get caught in the testing center. You will get caught very easily in the testing center doing that. You're going to have this sheet and this sheet only. And you have to show your work how you got it, not just look it up on the internet. Okay. All right. So let's look at doing some unit conversions on number 10. What a unit conversion is we're taking a unit fraction, which means a fraction that equals 1. So we can change the units, but not the value. We know that something like 9 over 9 equals 1. So if we multiply something by 9 over 9, it's still going to equal 7, right? So we have a unit fraction. Most of you know this measurement. 12 inches over 1 foot. That's a unit fraction because that's equivalent to 1 because these are equal. Well, some things you might not know are right here. If these are equal, we can multiply something by this, and it's not going to change the value because this is equal to 1 because they're equal. Or we can write it the other way. This is just like writing 1 because they're equal to each other. And that can be said for any of these equivalencies. They all equal 1 because they're equal to each other. So we use that to do our conversions. So here's an example, number 8. Nope, number 8's a metric. We just did the metric. Okay, number 11 here. A container holds 40 liters. How many quarts? So this is metric to English. This is where we want to use a unit fraction and factor label method. We're starting out with liters. We write what we have. If it's only 1 unit, not per anything, make it 40 liters over 1. We're not cross multiplying. There's no equals. Okay, if we need to cancel units, they're in the numerator. Don't put any numbers yet. Just write down the units you want to cancel. This is what's going to get it you set up and know whether to multiply or divide if you know nothing about the units. We want to cancel liters and go to quarts. So we need quarts in the numerator. That's what we need to happen so that our end result is quarts. We can't have quarts in the denominator. We don't want 1 over quarts. We want our answer to be quarts. Now, we have a conversion, quarts to liters. Now you just fill in the blank. You put the 1 where the quarts is. There it is. Okay. And the 0.9464 where the liters is. Now sometimes you're going to have a 1 here and a different number up here. This is going to tell you whether to multiply or divide. You don't have to guess. Anytime you have non-1 digit up here, you're going to multiply. Then you're going to divide by any non-digits in the numerator or in the denominator. Multiply in the numerator, divide by the denominator. Excuse me. So this one is just 40 divided by 0.9464. 42.265. Watch your rounding. Nearest tenth. And you will start to get these right. You don't have to say, do I multiply? Do I divide? It sets them up for you. Okay. Trying another one. One more easy one. 6.2 kilograms. It's not per anything, so it's just over 1. Put your units, no numbers. Think about what has to cancel. Kilograms has to cancel, and we're going to pounds. We have a pound to kilogram conversion. 1 pound is 0.4536. So again, we don't have any non-1, anything but a 1, so there's no multiplication. Divide by the denominator. So 6.2 divided by 0.4536. Nearest tenth, 13.7 pounds. Okay. Understanding factor label. You're just going to have to do this many, many times over and find a path to get to where you need to go. It's not always going to be that you have a conversion from kilograms to pounds. You're going to have to get several steps to get to where you're going. Okay. Here's one that's going to take a few more steps. It's not on your sheet. They're expecting you to know this one. How many minutes are in a year? So we're given a year to start with. Now most people don't know how many minutes are in a year. And it says there are 365 days. So we need to cancel year, and they gave us days. 1 year is 365 days. The year is gone. Well, now we need to cancel day. Most people don't know off at the top of their head how many minutes are in a day, but most people do know in 1 day how many hours are there.
24.
24. Yep.
Okay, we're not to our goal yet. What do I need in the denominator now? What unit? What do I need
Hours.
to cancel? Hour.
Hours.
And what do we know about hours to
There's
minutes?
minutes.
60 minutes.
That gives us what we want, right?
60.
1 hour is 60 minutes. So see, this one took a longer path, okay? But we still got there. So now we just need to multiply. And if they said seconds, we would have went minutes to seconds, right? One more time. Okay. Okay. All right. Anybody need 1 from 10? I'll move on to the much harder ones in 11. Okay, 11, you're going to pick up area.
It's your mother. Pick it
Uh-oh.
up.
Somebody's got their mic on. Area of a rectangle.
Hold on. Yeah. Okay.
Length times width. Volume.
Let me call you right back, Mom. All right.
Length times width times height. And remember, area is always going to be units squared. Volume is going to be units cubed. Okay. And here's the one that a lot of you may have forgotten is the circle, which would be a cylinder. Area is pi r squared. Radius is from the center of the circle to the edge. And pi is just a symbol that represents the ratio of the circumference, the distance around, divided by the diameter, which turns out to be a non-repeating, non-terminating decimal, and we often round it to 3.14. Okay. What they ask you a lot in this section on 2 questions is about volume of a cylinder, which is pi r squared h. Okay. And remember, order of operation, you have to square before you do the multiplication. Okay. So that is all coming up in this section. And also we have degrees Celsius and degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. If you look at your formula, you have both conversions. Okay. Celsius makes perfect sense. Water freezes at 0. Fahrenheit is 32. Water boils at 100 in Celsius. And it boils at 212 in Fahrenheit. Okay. Make sure if what you're given, if you're given Fahrenheit, you use and looking for Celsius, you use this one. You got to do parentheses first, then multiply. If you use this one, you can't add, you have to multiply first. People mess up on order of operation. Okay. Okay, so I would say those are some of the easiest questions in the section. So we'll start out with one of those. A friend arrives from Paris. The forecast is a low of 55 and a high of 76 degrees Fahrenheit. What is the forecast in Celsius? So we know F equals 55 and 76. Okay, somebody still needs to mute. So if we know Fahrenheit and we're looking for Celsius, which formula are we going to use? We know the Fahrenheit and we're looking for the Celsius. Which formula?
On the right.
Yeah, we're going to use the C equals. Okay, these should be your easiest problems on the next test. All we need to do is plug it in and then follow the order of operation. On this formula, you have to do parentheses. The other one, you can't do the addition first. It's not in parentheses. So it's 5/9 times 23 and we get 12.8 degrees Celsius. Okay. Then we do the other one. $24.4. Okay. Questions on that one? Okay. Looking at one the other way real quick. You arrive in Paris and it's a low of 16 degrees Celsius. What is it in Fahrenheit? So this time we're using the F equals. So we plug in the 16 and the common error, people will add 32. Multiplication becomes before addition. It's not in parentheses like the other formula. So you need to do this first, the 9/5, then add the 32. And we get 60.8 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. Don't mess up on those easy ones. Okay. All right. They're giving you the formulas. Make sure you don't do it off the top of your head. Make sure you pick the right one. Okay. Number 10. What is the volume in cubic feet of a greenhouse that is 50 feet by 15 by 10? Volume is length times width times height. 50 times 15 times 10. Then you got the feet. this is why it turns out to be cubic, because the feet times the feet times the feet. Now, why this might give some of you problem is it said round to the nearest 10. Mine came out to a whole 0 there, so mine just stays the same. Okay, but if your answer had come out to be something like this, because it was rounding to the nearest 10, it would have come to 7540. So that may be what's giving some people problem on WebWorks, because it's not 10th, it's nearest 10. If it had been 7532, it would have been 7530. So watch the rounding. Mine just happened to come out to 0, so it stayed the same. Does that answer? Someone had a question. Madison, I bet it was the rounding that gave you the problem there.
Yes, it was. Thank you.
Mine just, that one wasn't a good example because mine came out that way. Okay. And I remember doing 11 in my other class and it didn't come out to like 1300. It had to be rounded to that.
Yeah, 11 was the same, so that answers both questions.
Yeah. And this one didn't come out to that number. I had to round it to that, but that was it. Okay.
Can we do 14?
Absolutely. I'm going to do 12 first and work my way up to 14. Hopefully we still have time. Okay. 12, you're ordering an 18 by 20 foot kitchen floor, and the store has it in square meters. So we still do 18 times 20 to get the area, and we get 360 feet squared. Now, we need to convert to meters squared. It's not per anything, so we're converting feet squared to meters squared. This is a very important concept. You're going to have many questions where we don't have a conversion, feet squared to meters squared. So we only have yards to meters, not squared anything. So we're going to have to do several steps here. First, we're going to do feet squared to yards. But the problem here is I can't cancel a yard squared with just a foot. What am I going to have to do to get feet squared canceled? Feet squared means
Multiply it by.
feet squared means feet times feet. That only cancels part of it, right? I have to do it twice to cancel both factors. If it was volume and feet cubed, I'd have to do it 3 times. Okay? Because I don't have a square conversion. If I had a feet squared to yard squared conversion, I could do it once, but I don't. So I have to do 3 feet is 1 yard, 3 feet is 1 yard. Now your book will do this and do squared, but I find more people make mistakes. They do the math wrong than if they list it twice. Because then you have to know that that's 9, not a 3 when you go to do the math, and people mess up on these long ones. So now I have to get rid of yard twice. Because remember, the whole factor label is you're canceling common factors numerator to denominator. And go to meter. And I want meters squared. That's my goal. Then I look and I have 1 yard is 0.9144 meters. So this is one I'm going to multiply 360 times 0.9144, 0.9144, and then divide by 3, divide by 3. we get 33.43. And we're going, here's another tricky part on watch your rounding. It's not saying round to the nearest meter, round up, because they don't want you to be short flooring. So you don't go, even though this is a 4, we still go up. So it's 34 meters squared. Okay, so it goes up to 34 meters squared. You're going to have many of these, including your discussion board, where you're going to have squared or cubed that you're going to have to do 2 or 3 times to get the squaring or the cubing to cancel. Okay, you got to just follow that factor label. There goes that yard. Okay. Okay. 13.
There's 14.
13, I'm sure. You got 13? I'm impressed. Who was that? You got through 13 on your own? That is wonderful.
I made it to 13.
13, a round silo is 75 feet tall with a 16-foot radius, and it holds 28,000 cubic feet, and it's 75 feet tall. Or it's 70, it has 75 feet tall. How high would a load of 28,000 cubic feet be? So they're saying it's not all the way full. How full is it if it holds this much? So we're using volume, pi r squared h. Always write what you've got. They're asking us how full is it, how high is it if the volume is 28,000? We're going to use 3.14 for pi, and 16 is the radius. So if we square 16, that is 256. So 28,000 equals, remember you got to square before you multiply, so we got 256 times our unknown h. So 28,000 equals 803.84 times h. Doing some basic algebra here. We want h by itself, so we need to divide. Anything divided by itself is 1 other than 0. The height would be 34.8. To the nearest foot would be 35 feet high. Okay. I think some people might have needed a little help with that one. So that's how you do that one. And now I'm to 14, which again is a cylinder. And these problems are on your YouTube playlist. I worked them out last semester or the semester before. And remember, if you miss them 3 times, a lot of these have the solution worked out within WebWorks too. And again, I've worked the problems out before, not a class video, just separate, just me doing the homework. So you've got resources that you can look at. You can scroll through and find the problem you need. This time we have a cylinder with 7 centimeter radius and a height of 24 centimeters. How many millimeters of water to completely fill the vase? So they're asking us for the volume. So we're doing 3.14. Okay. Who missed this one? You probably had it right if you got 13 right. WebWorks used the pi key and didn't tell you. And use the pi key on a calculator instead of 3.14. Okay, that's what their rounding was doing. And then the height was 24. The radius is 7. So r squared is 49. We're going to use the pi key. 49 times 24. So I'll show you on my calculator. I'm going to use pi times 49 times 24 and hit enter. And right now it's just going to give me this, and this makes a difference from the rounded version of 3.14. It takes it out to more decimal places. So this is going to round it to 3695. When I use 3.14, it comes out to 3693, and WebWorks is counting it wrong. So if you make a note, use the pi key on 14. And if you were having problems, that's probably what it was, if it wouldn't take it. Okay. Okay. And the next one is how much water is needed to fill the base 4/7 of the way. We take 3695 times 4/7. I'm just using my fraction key. And I get, and nearest milliliter would just be 2111. Now what lets me not convert this from cubic centimeters, I didn't even mention that. 1 cubic centimeter, and you in the medical field know that, equals 1 milliliter. So even though my answer here was centimeters cubed, that equals 1 milliliter. So that's a direct conversion right there. Okay, does that answer your question, whoever asked 14? Are you still there? You got tired of waiting for 14?
I think it was it must have been the pi sign that was causing the problem.
Yep, because I had 9.3 using 314, and their answer was 9.5. Then I did the pi key, and they shouldn't do that because this one you had to use the pi key, and they didn't, or you had to use 314 on this one, and they didn't tell you to use the pi key on this one. So they shouldn't have their parameters set like that. It's free. That is why I add 5% to everyone's grade at the end. Okay.
I also had problems with 22.
I have not done 22 yet. Okay, how much time we got here? All right, good. We'll get to 22, but I want to do one of a double conversion here, 18. You also have the double conversions, 62 kilometers per hour. This is the first one you've had where you have 2 units, a unit in the numerator and denominator, probably the most missed ones on the test. It's not harder, it's just longer because now we're introducing units in both numerator and denominator per something. So we don't just write kilometers over 1, it's 62 kilometers over 1 hour. And I'll have people say, oh, I'm just going to convert them separately. That does not work because hours is not in the numerator, it is in the denominator. It's got to be in the denominator. Now sometimes, as are up here in the first 2 problems that you do, you're only converting 1 unit, the other one's staying the same. This one is a double conversion. Kilometers is going to meters, and hours is going to minutes. If you're only converting 1, if this was staying hours, it would just go along for the ride and you'd just convert the other one and bring this at the end. But this time we have to convert both. It doesn't matter which you convert first. I suggest you do the denominator because that's the one people mess up because they're not used to converting from a denominator. So if I want to go hours to minutes, remember, if you want to cancel something numerator to denominator, if it's in the numerator already, to cancel it, we need it in the denominator. So hours to cancel, then I need minutes. 1 hour is 60 minutes. If it was seconds, then I'd have to go minutes in the numerator, seconds in the denominator, and divide by 60 again, which is very common in a lot of them. I like to circle what I've got. I need minutes in my final answer. I'm done with my denominator. Okay, then you can kind of cover it up. Just hold that thought, and now work on the numerator. I need to get rid of kilometers and go to meters. Now you could just work this and then get that answer and use the sliding decimal, but this is a very common one. I hope you know. Your base unit meter is how many kilometers? 10, 100, 1,000. It takes 1,000 meters to make 1 kilometer. Okay, that would cancel that. Now I've got what I need, meters per minute. And you're ready. 62 times 1,000 divided by 60. Order does it. You could divide first and then multiply. Let's see how we're rounding. Nearest tenth. Meters per minute. Okay. Practice the per something. How you recognize it. It's got units in the numerator and in the denominator. So instead of just over 1, it's over one of the other units. Okay, 22. A general contractor is constructing a building that requires a concrete foundation that is 25 by 28 by 3 inches. Okay. If a local store, home supply store, sells concrete for $75 a cubic yard, what will the cost of the concrete be round to the nearest dollar? Okay, so we're looking for the volume. This is in cubic yards, this is inches, this is feet, this is feet. Okay, so there are many ways you could do this. You can convert all these to yards to begin with, which is going to make it a problem unless they set the parameters, which could be the problem you're having. The common way would be, since 2 of these are feet, convert these all to feet and then convert those over to yards in the end. So to convert 3 inches to feet, inch to feet, we'd get 0.25 feet because we have to have like units. So volume equals 25 times 28 times 0.25 feet cubed. That also keeps me from having any repeating decimals, which would not work. So we get 175 feet cubed. Okay. Now we need to convert feet cubed to yards cubed. I have to cancel feet cubed, which is feet as a factor 3 times, which will take me to yards cubed, which is what I desire. 3 feet in 1 yard. So 175 divided by 3 divided by 3 divided by 3. And we get a repeating decimal. We're going to get 6.48 1 repeating. Okay. Taking that times $75. And I get $486.11. And they got 487. So hopefully it would take the 486. The parameter would be strong enough. So they went a different direction rounding than I did. Okay. Does that answer your question? Did you round the way I did?
Yes,
Did
thank you.
Did you go with feet and then to yards, or did you go a different way?
I tried multiple ways and I just couldn't figure it out. So
Well, you may have had it. I mean, did
it
you
could be a
just...
rounding issue. I'm not sure.
Okay. And who am I speaking with?
Because when I would enter it, I would try $1 over, $1 under. I tried a bunch of different things. So this I wrote everything
Who is
down.
this?
So hopefully
Who is this? Who am I
get it.
speaking with?
Ashley Bond.
Okay.
Ashley Bond.
Okay, I'll look at yours and see. Was it? Did you do inches or feet
Thank
or?
you. Oh,
So I can look yours up and see what it was.
well, let me go back to my.
I can look at yours and see what it was.
And I just tried. Oh, I must have.
Okay, one of the
Yeah, I've got so many notes here.
Like I said, probably the hardest sections for the whole year. Okay, 24 is always on the test. And I can tell you the first time I did this problem, I mean, I've never had this in any math class I've ever taught anything like this until this class. And I killed the people because, I just start working a problem because I think I know how to do all the math. And I had no idea what all this language meant because I'm not in the medical field. And when it said doses, I multiplied instead of dividing. What this means, a certain drug dosage calls for 5 milligrams per gram per day. And the word, they don't on the test say divided into 2 doses. They don't do that. It just has slash marks on the test like this. Like we all know what that means in medical terminology. So they're giving, this is what they can have maximum per day for the number of kilograms they weigh. A dose means you divide it that many times and give it to them over the day. So if they weigh 205 pounds, what we have to do is convert it to kilograms to find out how much total they get of the drug for the day. So we have to take the pounds and convert to kilograms. This is always on the test. Okay? So we look at our conversion. 1 pound is 0.4536 kilograms. That'll get rid of pounds. Now, this is a conversion not on our sheet, but given in the text. It says for every kilogram per day, so we add that, they're going to get 5 milligrams of that drug. So that'll get rid of the kilograms. they're getting 5 milligrams a day per the drug. And then also in the text, it tells us per 1 day, they get 2 doses. And that gets rid of the day and takes us to the dose. Okay? So see how this factor label takes care of everything? So then we have what we need, which is how many milligrams per dose. So 205 times 5 times 0.4536 divided by 2 is 232.47. And this is another, it's not rounding to the nearest, rounding up. So we get 233 milligrams per dose. Okay? Like I said, always on the test. Okay? Discussion board is of course, those of you that did well on the test, you know those discussion board questions were high point test questions. So take the discussion board seriously. Go out there and discuss them. If you don't understand, collaborate with someone. I put the answers at the end, but you need to be collaborating. Remember, you have got to show your work. Explain your process so someone can say, here's where your error is. This is time. That's time for you to collaborate with classmates that you don't get in class to get the help that you need to come to an understanding, because it's high likelihood that those are going to be high point test questions. You saw some of the questions were worth 12 points. I'm being very strategic on those discussion boards, giving you a chance to write out answers that you're going to have to write on tests to give you practice. Okay? So use them. Take that opportunity as a learning tool. Any questions for me? Don't quit over this section. Like I said, it doesn't keep getting harder. These are probably the 12 and 13 are probably two of the most difficult, or 11 and 12 are some of the most difficult for people of the entire year. And then you hit some easy ones again. So don't just give up. Go get the help and get through it. Okay? All right. Have a great weekend.
You too. Thank you.
You too. Thank you.